and it isn't working, and it's causing death. It should be stopped now. It's absurd.
Hello, everybody. Doctors, they were at a convention. 3 things that were used to gain control of the population. If you hadn't guessed, we're talking about COVID and trucker rallies. Trudeau and his Emergency Act. So Trudeau's bringing in the troops.
Serious challenges to law enforcement's ability to effectively enforce the law. On Friday, Ontario invoked a state of emergency to respond to the blockades. This was responsible, necessary thing to do. Today,
Fauci, eh? Yeah, I heard about that guy, Fauci. You often see him in court battling with Rand Paul.
You responded to him that you would do it, and you immediately got an article in Wired, and you sent it back to him and said, hey, look, I've got him. I nailed him in Wired of all scientific
That's not what
publications.
went on.
You
There
did.
you go again.
That
You
was your
just do the
response.
same thing every hearing.
That was your response.
Fauci, the most vile man walking.
Gain of function, yeah. To make a virus intentionally more dangerous and contagious than previous viruses like flu and whatnot, so you can develop medications for it, different treatments. Sounds like, yeah, but wait a minute, why do you need to develop the better treatments if the virus itself doesn't exist? I mean, something's fishy. I mean, is it for the future of medicine and making billions of dollars? Well, that might have something to do with it.
Fauci led a contract for gain of function research in Wuhan because he couldn't get anyone to do it anywhere else because it was prohibited. So it was secretly done in Wuhan. It was never intended to be released. This was not genocide. But it did get out for a very simple reason. Having run big labs, I can tell you, you can never hermetically seal them for a very simple reason, that people work in there.
Neil Ferguson, theoretical physicist, he had predicted he had some of these doomsday predictions before. He's state of emergency, it begins. And the press, world leaders, presidents, mayors, everybody gets a hold of this information. And
That produced panic. And they would have all said to their number 2, listen, I want to plan on my desk tomorrow morning. I've got to be shown to be doing something, even though it doesn't work. And that's exactly what happened. None of these measures were known to work, and that they did it anyway.
I mean, yeah, they're trying to be helpful to save face and to deliver a speech to help everyone. Like that Mayor Quimby stuff that we've always been laughing about. We understand the parody, and beyond that, of course, the Kennedys. These people did not have a plan, and they just went out there and said it's going to be okay, and here's our plan. It didn't work, but they did it anyway. That's what Dr. Dickinson says here. I think that's his name. We've heard bits and pieces of all this. He puts it together really like a endgame kind of speech, or end of the movie kind of speech, you know what I mean? Like in the court of law. It's sort of like Jim Garrison and JFK in the movie, the Oliver Stone movie.
Social distancing makes no sense whatsoever. But more than anything, lockdowns. It has created the most incredible carnage across the world. Everyone has been affected for a situation that is basically nothing more than a bad seasonal flu. Yes, some variations, obviously.
You cannot stop a mosquito with a chain link fence. That's the mask thing.
Meanwhile,
The people want you to go. So leave, please. Those are our resources that you're wasting. Stop wasting our resources. You have to stop. Or you'll all be written up. Each and every one of you will be written up. Now get out of here.
You're required by law because you're here enforcing the law. You're required. You've detained me against my will. No. You need to get. You are required.
Comments, Carlos.
So good inside me. Asking mama and your dad. Just tell them to direct your shot. You said you straight, he's got what it takes. You like to your comments, but leading grown flakes. Comments. Just send them to direct your shot.
This is insane. Stay strong, Canada. This is insane. So disappointed in the police. Notice to police, when you enforce bad laws and bad policy, you, on a personal level, become a bad person. Just doing my job is no excuse when it is obviously morally wrong. And all the rational... Hey, I wasn't done with that yet. Come back. This is illegal, by the way. Hence, Batman are the criminals. Neo? I don't even know what the heck that's. So, yeah, sure. It really seems like they're trying to push people to try and fight back. Then they can actually use other means of force. Stay strong. Entrapment. Anita Krishna, who spoke out about being silenced by the media. This was the most, grabbing, moving speech I've heard on this whole thing, I'd have to say. Just because she was a person in that situation that has to say those things. She was at a rally and got fired, and all of a sudden, boom, she's out there in another rally talking with a microphone.
You know what everybody needs to do is follow the silence. If there is a doctor that is trying to speak to you and you are not hearing from him, that's the doctor you should listen to.
And it just opens your eyes, right? Like, you're not used to seeing this.
Stop me. Stop me. Hey,
I got it recorded.
Stop me. Stop me. Come on.
I need somebody
Stop me.
People getting in this fight scene in the mall or the supermarket in Chilliwack there. This guy, he might have been actually schizophrenic and all this stuff. And he did get arrested, but he's acting like an idiot and he's punching somebody. Come on, come at me. Like, what good is that going to do? And then that kind of stuff's going to play out. And then liberals are going to use that against you. If you want to maintain a peaceful protest, and this guy's some headstrong idiot that thinks he's following, you gotta have like subtitles and instructions for people who are idiots like that who live in Chilliwack, otherwise known as Surrey Junior. You gotta understand, you can't be an idiot about this and punching people, because it doesn't matter what you think about a virus. All of a sudden you're gonna enter a court. Normal crimes. Remember the old crimes that weren't about not wearing masks? You know what I mean? And not taking a vaccine before they pitted the whole world against each other with this thing. Yeah, like punching people. You're not supposed to assault people, and speeding and stealing cars and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, those are still laws somehow, because cops are so busy everywhere else in the world. How unfocused have we been over the last few years when some guy on one side of the road is selling crack to kids, and over there some guy's not got his mask on, right? So, hey, smarten up. Come on now. Sorry, officer. I'm very sorry. I wish I could strive to be just like that crack selling guy to kids. It's like, well, you try harder now. You'll get there one day. More political. Maybe if we could all just talk like Minnesotans, we'd forget all about the mask. Everyone should just walk around and just be like, oh, you betcha. Yeah, I was on Fargo. Hey, did you watch the Minnesota Wild North Stars? What? Yeah, North Stars. North Stars. They had the North Stars back then. Okay, we're in the 90s now. Hey, did you watch the Minnesota North Stars game the other day? Oh, you betcha. Yeah, did you see Mike Modano passed over to Neil Broughton? Neil Broughton got the backhander in there against the Habs, eh? Oh, the Habs, yeah, Montreal Canadiens. They got a pretty good team. They won the Cup just a couple years ago, eh? Hey, are we Canadian? Wait a minute. Are we in Newfoundland now? Oh, no, not those two accents. Newfoundland versus Minnesota. Hey, somebody help me out, because I can probably break it down, but I am not here to do that right now. Let's get back on track, shall we? I'm on meth. I'm on meth. I'm on meth.
The vaccines were introduced with great fanfare, but you must remember, the whole thing is predicated on the initial declaration of a public health emergency. It never, ever was.
This whole thing was predicated on emergency, like FEMA and X-Files.
It'll happen on a holiday when people are away from their homes. The president will declare a state of emergency, at which time all government, all federal agencies will come under the power of the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, the secret government.
Once that was announced, it gave them all the latitude to announce these things under emergency use authorization. That's what this doctor guy said. I learned it from him.
And in particular, the vaccine. So here we have the small man syndrome, Fauci, a guy who'd never succeeded really to achieve glory. His HIV vaccine failed.
Fauci, why didn't you tell me? You wanna know why? 'Cause I'm a liar! Yeah, I'm a liar!
The vaccine was brought in with warp speed. The method of delivery had already been worked out over the last 10 years.
Mechanism of delivery had already been worked out over a decade.
Derek Two-Shot keeps pretending to be smart by copying what that English doctor says.
Right, with this untested experimental vaccine, which...
All they had to do was package these little particles with the right mRNA.
Vaccines take 5 to 10 years of proper testing to be usable. And they also claimed that the coronavirus vaccine technology had already been studied before because of other older coronaviruses, so it was relatable. Certain aspects of that went into the current vaccine, if I'm not mistaken.
It's an experimental vaccine. It wasn't tested.
The infant version of this, bad enough to 5 to 10-year-olds, and even beyond that, I can't stand the idea that people wanted to take this, did take this, let their kids take this, or to try to force this on people.
I'll say a word, just one word, that might cause pause for politicians. And the word is thalidomide.
Thalidomide.
Thalidomide. Brought to market by Big Pharma and produced children without arms and legs.
I mentioned thalidomide, that was a drug for pregnant women many years ago in the 50s, I think even early or the 40s, but about around the 50s. I know a guy, his hands, his fingers are all like little and stubby, and he's a good guy, still works a job and everything, but his toes and everything, it's not something you want to be born with per se, but some people didn't even have arms and legs, and that's from that drug thalidomide, an experimental drug which was used, and whoops, sorry.
Tam and Co., do you remember thalidomide? This could happen all over again because we just don't know.
I drank a gin and tonic and I got cured. No more COVID. All gone.
The delivery method of the vaccine targets the ovaries of rats. So people who are like girls, right? Like
maybe we should know what's happening to little girls, because little girls are born with all the eggs they're ever going to have in their entire life.
3 methods by which you can break even the hardest terrorists in Guantanamo Bay, says Dr. Dickinson. 1, fear, right? Spreading fear. With the news, contact tracing, 6-foot distancing.
The vast majority of these cases, 97% or so, were false positives. And yet that's what drove fear. And they applied that knowledge to society at large. And you keep it on.
Organized medicine, surgeons, they were all silenced, right? There was all kinds of talk about this with nurses. People wanted to keep their jobs. They were ordered. They had like the gun to their head, man.
If I had to put one finger, actually a fist if I had the chance. Because they have specifically intimidated physicians into silence. They have told physicians, you will not treat people with ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine. And if you do, we're coming after you and you're going to lose your livelihood. Have I got your attention yet?
You know, you couldn't talk about this. If you watch the movie The Insider, this is Jeffrey Wigan, played by Russell Crowe, nominated for Best Picture. He worked in a tobacco company, the number 3 company, Brown & Williamson in America. That's BMW, like BMW. He was like a health and safety type of professor, scientist. I'm not sure what his actual title was. And he didn't, the impact boosting, I'm not sure, I think they had changed some chemicals around, but that was something that he didn't want to stand by. There's something called Coumadin, not cumin, the spice. Coumadin or Coumadin. I can never remember that one. It's a tough one, and this stuff really increased to give you that kick. And he's like, so you get your fix.
Coumarin's presence in cigarette tobacco caused Brown & Williamson executive Dr. Jeffrey Wigand to contact CBS's news show 60 Minutes in 1995, charging that a form of rat poison was in the tobacco.
They let him go with like a severance package. Then there was some talk between the media. There was a reporter that found him from 60 Minutes, played by Al Pacino. Jeffrey Wigand says he doesn't really want to talk about it. He can't. He's not allowed, right? This is like a serious contract. You can't break this stuff. This is a serious silence. The doctors are probably in very much something like this. And when time goes by, all of a sudden he gets called back to the tobacco company because they want to rewrite their contract. I think you better sign the contract. And then he starts going around the world with Tugger, fighting people. Fighting around the world. Hey, Tugger! Come on, Tugger! But seriously, these are the kind of contracts these guys get into.
They're attacking any physician that spreads, in their words, misinformation. This is like the Gulag in Russia all over again. Doctors not allowed to talk to their patients, which we've been doing for hundreds of years, privately in the examining room. Government is now your doctor.
And isolation.
And then isolation, otherwise known as quarantine. Keep people separated. Don't let them talk to each other. You break anyone with those three methods, and it broke society.
Isolation, man. All these things combined, you're thinking about all the time. I gotta stay isolated. 6 foot distancing when you're out in public. Wearing your mask. I could get it. What's it gonna be like? I heard it's bad. Oh, it's mild in these people. Asymptomatic. So wait a sec. You can be asymptomatic and still spread it. Everyone's worried about every single thing, and you gotta be. It's 14 days.
Children hanging themselves because of social isolation, having been locked up in their little tiny bedroom for such a long period of time. The bottom line of all of that is nothing worked. Nothing could work, nothing did work, and nothing therefore will work.
In fact, we know about a lot of the suicide and depression things and stuff. People, I mentioned in a video in 2020, were leaving New York, offices were getting emptied. Those are some stats that have been long forgotten, I'm sure. God knows what's happened now. I mean, some things have bounced back. Many stores have closed completely because they open again, and then, oh, hey, Bert's got the virus now. Oh, we got to close down again. And what are you going to do? 50% capacity, we're closed, we're open, we're sort of open, no, we're closed. Forget it. We have no money, so it's over. Theresa Tam was supposed to be there. That was the big draw, because everyone wants to see the Tam in person. The Tam, Pam. Can we actually run a clip of her talking?
I'm Tina Turner Tam. They call me Tina Turner Tam. I'm the triple D. I'm the triple D with the Pam and the Tam.
Very impressive, marvelous voice, and we're gonna get some more clips occasionally of her because how can you say no? Also, another thing of note is Fort Detrick. I've talked about that before. I've showed some stuff. Now, as far as Fauci going to China, I don't doubt that at all. I don't doubt all the information, the emails, what Rand Paul has said, and the Dr. Dickinson here. But in reality, you know, like, there may have been something going on in the States first. Was Fauci part of that too? I wouldn't doubt it. But why would he go to China then if there was something else in the States? 2 different types of mysterious pneumonias that led to a lot of deaths and cases, mostly in old people homes, isolated mostly in Maryland, and God knows where else it spread, but that was the place where it started in the summer. And then there were a whole bunch of other deaths that popped up, and they called those vaping deaths. And I have to mention that stuff. There was a military base, Fort Detrick, in Maryland in the summer of 2019. And it closed after a failed inspection. And that, in the summer, is when those pneumonias popped up. You got to think to yourself, dude, does that not sound suspicious? Because you could say conspiracy theory all you want. And that guy defends by saying they were actual real cases. Those were documented cases. And the information about Fort Detrick came out. But they've never apparently reopened it. Well, they've reopened it, but they've never allowed another inspection or the public to be able to see what actually happened at Fort Detrick. It's literally like the JFK files. Is that messed up or what? Here's something for all you people being towed. My car was towed, so I went to the impound, walked through the gate, and took my car back, refusing to pay any of their fines. The police charged me with breaking and entering and theft over $5,000 for stealing my own car. Joke's on them. I lawyered up, and the charges were thrown out because you can't steal your own property. And breaking in requires a bit more. I can't see it on this. Sounds pretty stupid. Charges were thrown out. That takes quite a bit of time to do that, though. So, I mean, God knows when this even happened. I don't think this is real. It's going to cost you at least $5,000 and $10,000 to get that lawyer. As you can see, my old mic broke. Like, the cord, it won't, like, hold. It seems to keep going out and the blue light turns off. It was just a pain in the ass. That's why I'm using my new welfare mic. Pretty sure they had to dictum this forever. Oh, man, what's going on here? Okay, we're done with this. Whatever. This is the ultimate X-File, dude. The whole pandemic. And too bad X-Files isn't here to... They could go totally real life with this. This is the alien virus. Reality. Do I got this crap blaring behind me? I got this weird man talking here. Let's turn this down a little bit here. I got some clapping going on. Hey, you know what happens? You know how I am about clapping. I'm not used to it. I usually get booed out of places. I mean, you could even go back further if you really want to get weird with it. I had one of the longest colds and weirdest colds that I had. I've got a picture. Show my eye. That came from pink eye. And that usually comes when your friends from Germany pee on your eye during a strange sex act while drinking in small quarters. I got pink eye. Probably touched something that was dirty and just rubbed my eye or something. Very much like, spoiler alert, the famous movie Contagion, how not Gwyneth Paltrow, no, the doctor, who actually specifically talks against touching your face and how that's one of the ways diseases spread in Contagion. That's, what's her name? The girl from that movie. The one with the guy. The Titanic movie. It's whatever her name is. Oh, why can't I think of her name? She's a great actress. She's hot. She's in that movie with Jennifer Connelly. Hillary, God's sakes, just help me out and stuff. Right. As soon as it's allowed, I'll take the mask off. I'll live. I couldn't care less. I remember when 2021 we had masks for a while. It had been almost a year. I've always been kind of a germaphobe. COVID probably brought that up a bit. I'm not gonna lie, but I mean, it's still the same stuff. If in 2008 I'm on a bus or something like that, and there's some old Indian guy coughing, with a turban and stuff, what I mean? They don't cover their mouth half the time. You're like, oh man, you ruined it. Now I gotta sit back there with this drunken native guy, and there's no room. So that's just how life is, right?